Good evening, everybody. This is Christian from Blue vs. Orange TCG. Come back to you after a few months hiatus. We were still playing the game. Me and Matt were still playing the game. We just weren't able to devote any time to making videos. But as you know, the situation in the world has changed completely, and now I have a little bit more free time on my hands, and I can actually get some videos done, which I'm really excited about. So today I'm coming back to you with our first Wave 5 deck profile. This deck profile is something that I'm pretty excited to show you. For anyone on either the Facebook group was kind of aware, there's been these series of tournaments over on the Octagon group page called the Corona Cup, hosted by Jason Crutchfield. Shout out to him for hosting and giving away prize support for these tournaments. I think that's super cool of him during these times of kind of hard to go out into an actual tournament store to play at a tournament like this. But anyway, he just hosted the first Wave 5 tournament of the set, basically. It was all through Octagon. The whole set was able to use Waves 1 through 5. It was a 32-person tournament, and I was able to go top 8, 4-1 in Swiss, and I ended up losing in top 8 to Joey Tarleton playing Major Shockwave. It was a really cool updated list of Major Shockwave, but today I'm bringing you a deck profile on that list on that deck that I ran, and talking a little bit about my thoughts on the Wave 5 meta, just a little bit, and my matches in general that I played. So first off, my lineup, just to show you my lineup, was something kind of different. It was my take on kind of like, I was reminded of Sentinels back in Wave 2, how they were like this aggro control deck that could kind of rip cards out of your opponent's hand but still have swing for really big numbers. And I was curious with the new Titan Master mechanic if there was a way to kind of leverage other control type elements in an aggro deck using like tempo and PTT turns and having like all these extra characters come out after your characters die. And I came up with this like 3-wide head Titan Master list. There are some proxies in here. This guy here, obviously, I don't have an image for him, but I'll splash an image of him when I get to him. Anyway, the lineup is Horri-Bull with Grax, Fangry with Parsec, and this is Chromedome with Kreb. So I'm going to be going over each guy individually here, starting off with the mainstay of the deck here. The guy who really just held the team completely was this pair right here, Horri-Bull with Grax. So kind of starting off now, this is an orange-black aggro deck, so we're able to leverage Horri-Bull's ability really well. For anyone who doesn't know what Horri-Bull does, he's a 6-star Titan Master who's 392 in alt mode, 492 or 491 in body mode. And basically what this guy does, he's probably the most direct damage heavy character we have in this game so far. In his body mode here, whenever you play a card with a black pip on it, do 1 damage to himself and another damage to a character. Now, yes, he ends up damaging himself quite a bit throughout the course of the game, but it really doesn't matter because the amount of just direct damage out of combat that you can deal with Horri-Bull is absolutely insane. Just being able to play the cards that you would normally play a turn and having all of those black pip cards have an extra deal 1 damage to an opponent's character tacked onto the end of it is amazingly powerful. Like, I'd say during my course of the tournament, I ended up killing more characters outside of combat than I did in combat just because of this guy. And then if you're worried about him taking too much damage, when you flip him to alt mode, you get to move 1 damage from this guy to an opponent's character. So there's some really big like explosive direct damage turns you can do with this guy. Playing like 2 black, like a black action, a black upgrade, and then flipping him. That's 3 damage on its own without even counting it for the effects of the black cards. And then to add on to his effect, we have Grax for the head, which is a 3-star head that gives the character +5 health. Because Horri-Bull on his own only has 9 health. Pretty small, right? But attacking Grax on him makes him actually like a surprisingly super beefy character. Like, he becomes a 14 health character who does damage to himself but can also heal himself at the same time. So he's got a bit of a target on his back, being the guy who kind of does most of the main damage in this deck. But he just lasts for so long just because of this extra health, and there's actually ways to give him even more health that we can talk about later in the deck profile. But this guy pretty much carried my team. The other two the other characters on my lineup were good, but this guy really just like did the most work. And like I think the biggest takeaway from this deck isn't so much like the deck itself or all the characters I played, like this specific lineup. It's the power of this guy. So moving on from Horri-Bull, we have the next pair, which is Fangry with Parsec. So I'm sure a few people already know what this guy does, but for those who don't, this is another Beast Titan Master, 4/11/2 in alt mode and 4/11/2 in body mode. What Fangry does in alt mode is when he's attacking a character with more stars than he has, he gets an extra bold 2 for this attack. So then that's just like native versus like Barrage from wave 1 where a character has to be damaged to get bold 2. This guy, he basically does the exact same, like he can potentially do 1 point less damage than Barrage on his own without the head. But he's bulkier basically. He's also a very bulky character with a 13 effective health with 11 health and 2 defense. In his body mode here, was never relevant, but in case anyone's curious, he basically gets the opposite effect where if he's defending against a character with less stars than him, he gets tough 2. Never came up in this deck, of course. You only keep him in this mode. I pair him with Parsec here. Parsec, she is the head that gives the character bold 1. So when you're attacking with Fangry, he'll always have that bold 1 tacked on there. But if you trigger his effect, he's going to have bold 3. So this guy can do some really, really explosive attacks. If you give him like a weapon and action, giving him like bold like 6 or 7 at a time, or even like a fusion board to just give him even more attack. This guy was mainly there as a damage dealer. He fits the black, orange kind of archetype where you're flipping a bunch of cards to guarantee damage with the black and orange pips. And again, he fits the theme of being a Titan Master because we're going with a full Titan Master lineup. And then I guess I didn't show Grax. I can show Grax here too after the Parsec. But Parsec, when Fangry dies, turns into a 2/1/0 bot that has bold 1. Most important part is she's ranged, so you can play Sturdy Javelins on her, or Marksmanships, or mainly Sturdy Javelins. I don't think I ran any though, so it really doesn't matter. Really does not matter. But this character here, she more often dies before you can get an attack with her because of like a horrible mirror match, or just there's a lot of direct damage in this set. It's pretty common for her to die outside of combat, but if they can't kill her outside of combat and you get the swing with her and they force an attack into here, it can be a really, really rough swing for them because she only has 1 health. And real quick, Grax, when Horri-Bull dies, has 4/5/0. He can actually he's the opposite of Parsec. He can actually last a lot longer than she can because of his native 5 health. There's been times where like I'm playing against like a blue player and they're swinging to Grax and they weren't able to kill him, and I'm able to like get a second attack in with Grax because of that, and it gets really, really nutty. Alright, and then the last character here, which I'm going to splash up on screen, is Chromedome paired with Kreb. So hopefully having him on screen right now, if I'm a good YouTuber, which I probably am not. Basically what Chromedome does is he's usually my first turn flip of the game, and then I just constantly keep flipping Horri-Bull. But what he does when he flipped to body mode is I get to look in the opponent's hand and I get to KO an action at the beginning of the game, basically. Basically kind of where I got this idea was from Sentinels, where I can flip first turn, either going first or going second. I get to peek in their hand right away, so I get an idea of what my opponent's starting hand is going to look like, or does look like. And then I can potentially get a problem card out of the game right away on the very first turn. Like, there were games where I flipped Chromedome and I was able to get rid of an End Hostilities out of someone's hand, and some people were only running like 1 or 2 of them, so being able to get rid of that not only gives them 1 less card to work with for the rest of the game, but also just being able to say no to a potential problem card like that is really, really nice. I never flipped him back to all mode, where he gets like +3 attack for 3 KO'd actions in your opponent's scrap. It doesn't really matter. He's really just there as an extra beat stick. Pairing him with Kreb, he has a base 13 health. With Kreb, he becomes a base 15, and of course Kreb turns into a bot, where he's at 2/2/0. Again, it's more or less just that he's a beat stick character that on the very first turn of the game he can potentially cause a little bit of like controller awkward tempo plays for your opponent because they give them one less card in their hands. But overall, I really enjoyed using Chromedome, and I think I will use him again eventually. He was probably my weakest character on the team just because he didn't synergize as well as Fangry and Horri-Bull, but he still had a lot of really good plays with him. Excuse me. Anyway, so that's the character lineup. Next up, we should go over the battle deck. So first off, of course, are the weapons I played. And again, just to reiterate, this is an orange-black deck here. Going over the weapons, just going over some of the basic ones we obviously all know and love in aggro decks. Grenade Launcher, Power Punch, Fusion Bore, and one Scoundrel's Blaster and one Backup Beam. So just going over the cards here. 3 grenade launchers. It's an aggro deck. It's pretty self-explanatory. I don't need to really talk about it. Just being able to push for an extra 4 damage is obviously good to try to end out games or end characters. I opted to run 3 Power Punch because I figured going into this that I wanted to be able to flip a lot of my blacks and oranges at once, and usually you need a lot of bold. So being able to play the Power Punch here, I was trying to basically make it be like a Fusion Bore, where a Fusion Bore is like a grenade launcher, but it's a single black pip. It gives you +3 attack, and it gives you Pierce 3, but it falls off after battle. Excuse me. I basically wanted Power Punch to be like a 4th, 5th, and 6th copy of Fusion Bore, where I get that bold 3, but I basically turned it into a +3 Pierce 3. This often was not the case, though, because there are some stray, like, just blank... or just blank black pip cards that sometimes I go pierce over my attack, or I flip like these two here. These are my only 2 weapons that sticks after combat, which I think was a mistake on my part. Just to show some of the other cards I'm playing here why I wanted to have more weapons that stuck, like the Backup Beam and the Scoundrel's Blaster. These were good. I definitely did not need both of them in the lineup, and more than often than not, I think I would have taken the Backup Beam out and put in either like a Flamethrower, like take these 2 out and put in 2 Flamethrowers, or something else that sticks. But having one of these 2 green weapons I think is really useful. So those are the weapons. They're pretty straightforward. So going through here. Next up are the armors. So I only played 3 armors. I played 2 increased durability, and I played 1 bashing shield. So going over the increased durability. This is one of the cards I was talking about that pairs really, really well with Horri-Bull, especially with Grax. When you play this on Horri-Bull, of course, it's a black pip armor. Excuse me. So that it, when I play this, I can ping someone with Horri-Bull. And then it also gives the upgraded character +4 total health. It's basically an armored energy pack, or energy pack that's an armor. So being able to play this onto Horri-Bull, when he's already a base 14 health character with Grax, makes him a base 18 health character for just 9 stars and someone that's continuously pumping out damage. It can get pretty overwhelming pretty quickly for the opponent, having to deal with a character that deals so much damage outside of combat, but also can survive a ton of hits just from the sheer amount of health he can have. Overall, I like this card a lot in the list. I'm actually happy I ran 2 of it. I'm probably going to run two of these in future lists, just to kind of see how if they continue to play out as well as they did this time, or if they're just going to not falter, or if they're just going to falter later on as the meta grows. But next armor is, of course, just Bashing Shield. I wasn't too worried about Bashing Shield off tough armors. I was more concerned about like the trick armors, where they increase static defense against like a specific like melee, range specialists, those type of armors. Also, I wanted this to mainboard to hit Hollow Matter Projector, because I figured we'd see a lot of Horri-Bull, and I figured people were going to be playing Hollow Matter Projector. I was for the most part right. I didn't see a whole lot until I actually got to like the top 8 that actually started playing Hollow Matter Projector, but when I did, this was super useful. So again, pretty obvious pick for an aggro deck, having Bashing Shield in there. Next up are the utilities. So I do have a couple proxies in here. First off, we have 3 Escape Capsule. I only have 2 printed, which is why this is a 3rd Escape Capsule. Escape Capsule was actually the reason why I wanted to build a deck like this. If for anyone who doesn't know what Escape Capsule does, it's an orange-black utility that when you upgrade it on a character, it gives them +1. And when the character would die and have their head deploy into bot mode, they get to keep every single upgrade that was attached to the body character. So including this, including an armor, including a weapon, all that. And this card actually was super, super, super good in this list. For one, it's this nice +1 that adds to your combat flips. It's a black, and it's a black, so it triggers Horri-Bull's ability, and it's a +1. And opponents typically don't want to deal with it. But throughout the time of the game, this +1 can actually be super relevant in finishing off games. Or if like I have a Titan Master that has a Escape Capsule and a Bastion Shield on, because the wording of Escape Capsule saying put when my body character dies and I deploy into a head, I put both these back on here and I can re-trigger Bastion Shield, which has happened once or twice in the tournament. Or having like one of the Scoundrel's blasters or backup beams to kind of help give my body or head characters a little bit of a boost. And that's part of the reason why I mentioned that I wish I had played less weapons that just fell off after I used them, because I leaned into this card so much. I didn't have actually a lot of like cards that I really, really, really wanted to keep after they were used up, like Grenade Launcher. Of course I wanted to keep it, but it just doesn't work that way, other than just Scoundrel's Blaster and Backup Beam. So because it's some poor deck building, this didn't get to be used as high of a potential as I think it has. But overall, I think it's a solid card in this list, and if you're playing like a Nigro Headmaster deck, this is something you definitely want to consider. Next up is 2 more increased durability. Just kidding. These are actually increased power cells. There is writing on there. You can barely see it though. So just telling you this now. These are the new card from Wave 5, Enhanced Power Cell. That is a black utility that gives the upgraded character +3 health instead of +4 like the other one, increased durability. The reason why I ran 2 of each of the increased durabilities and the power cell was mostly just for testing. I wanted to see which one I liked more when playing, and seeing if there was like a reason to run 4 of them. I can say I don't think there's a reason to run 4 of them. I think 4 is too many. 3 is fine. I think you're better off with just like 2, like 1 and 1 of these, or just like 1 power cell or 2 power cells, because cards don't hit the utility zone very well. It's easier to keep the power cell over the increased durability. But it was super fun in the tournament being able to play an increased durability and a power cell on Horri-Bull, making them into a base 21 health character. It got pretty ridiculous really quickly. It didn't happen very often, but when it did, it was super funny. Overall, this card is really good. Excuse me, I should have brought some water. Overall, I think this card is really good. We'll probably see a lot of it in the Wave 5 meta. And then my last utility is just a pocket processor. This is pretty much my only draw support in the deck, which was another weakness of the deck. There's, which I think it also explains why I lost so easily to Shockwave in the top 8, was I wasn't prepared for a matchup where I ended up losing my hand so quickly. I wasn't able to see this quickly enough to make a difference. So that is my upgrades. I ran a 20-20 split of actions and upgrades. So going through the actions here real quick. Of course, we have the 3-piece Tyranny. Something to note, I did not run the triple improvised shields in this list. I figured with my orange and black cards, I didn't need to run the extra double oranges. I think I was pretty wrong about that. There were some matches where I was against like another aggro deck where I really, really wanted to push. I wasn't able to push more damage than they were able to do, just because they did just have more raw power than I did, while I was here trying to guarantee damage all in like smaller bits. I think it would have been better if I like sideboarded the improvised, had all 3 improvised shields in the sideboard. But overall, it was fine. Mistakes were made. Anyway, Piece of Tyranny. This card is absolutely crazy with Titan Masters. Because similar with like Battle Masters, when you pieced a Battle Master, you got extra value because they turn into a weapon. Well, these like Titan Masters give even more value, because once you piece a Titan Master, they turn into another character. So you piece and you basically get like an extra attack or an extra turn, just because you run like you're a 3-eyed team that runs secret like extra 3 characters, and Peace was able to like steal me so many games just because I was able to just get this extra character and swing for an extra turn, and it just mattered. So we ran the 3 pieces for that very reason. Yeah, I expect to see a lot of Piece of Tyranny in this set. It's pretty bonkers, a lot like Wave 3. 3 Pfeiffer position. This is again just another orange-black card that just fits the archetype really well. I wish I ran more than just these for combat pumps though. I wish I ran like 1 or 2 reckless charges again, just for that aggro versus aggro mirror match where I wanted to, where they were just naturally hitting harder than me. Having some reckless charges I think in the deck would have helped kind of even that out a little bit, but overall this was fine. This was good. You know, helps trigger Horri-Bull's ability, of course. And then the next set of cards I want to talk about, I kind of want to talk about in conjunction, which is, let's see if I put this right here, Camien Crash, Magnetic Dysfunction Ray, and Precision Fire. These cards, in my opinion, are some of the most powerful cards in this set released. And what I find so interesting about these cards is they kind of like, and I could totally be wrong about this, but I think this kind of shows where WotC kind of wants to take like the orange-black archetype in the game. Obviously, when you flip an orange-black card, it's a guaranteed attack. It's a guaranteed 1 damage, right? Because you get that extra attack and you get extra pierce. So there's guaranteed damage that way, but there's also like a ton of this guaranteed damage through direct damage. I am so sorry. My goodness. So for example, like Camien Crash here, a black card where I get to do 1 damage to one of my characters and do 2 damage to an enemy character. Magnetic Dysfunction Ray in orange-black where I play this, do 1 damage to every character, and then do an extra damage to every Autobot character out in the game. And then Precision Fire. I get to name a character mode, and then each character in that mode in the game takes 1 damage. All these cards just combo off really well with Horri-Bull. They're all black pips, so they're direct damage that gets stacked on top of each other. And they're all different ways to kind of like guarantee damage on your opponent and constantly like deal pressure. Like traditional orange aggro decks like always had like these really big traditional swings. In these orange-black decks, they don't have as big of swings, but they have like a lot more they have a lot different avenues to give your opponent pressure throughout the game. Aggro decks often don't have a lot of ways to deal pressure outside of combat. Orange-black cards, orange-black decks, they have a whole range now. Like just these cards alone, and like Rock Toss, which I didn't even play, I think adds really nicely to this. They all have different like styles of dealing direct damage, but they're all individually very powerful on their own. And so I think these cards kind of set apart the orange-black archetype in that way, and I'm really excited to kind of play around with it more and see more of where the designers take this, because I think it's super, super cool. Just to see them differentiating the 2 colors very well in the deck together. Next up, I did run some secret actions. I ran 2 hold the lines. My proxies got a little messed up here, so they're really kind of hard to see. These are hold the lines and 1 hiding spot. I think everyone knows what hiding spot is. It's a secret action that when you flip, gives a character stealth for the turn. Excuse me. Was handy for if I had a head on the field that was tapped with a body character, stealthing the body character and forcing an opponent to attack a head. And then the hold the line was kind of like the bread and butter of my secret actions, where I wanted to make sure that any wider aggro decks like Airstrike Patrols or Bugs from wave 4 or 5 and all, or from like the previous waves that really preyed on these traditional 3-eyed aggro decks, I had like decent outs for it, so I was able to defend easily. I didn't see a whole lot of those. I ran into a blaster once, which did help me this did help me a lot with that. But I don't think I needed more than 1 of these. They're also really, really good against heads, of course, being able to like reveal it on like a Parsec attack and only taking 1 damage. Not even really 1 damage, because you recover 1 and then take 1, so you basically take no damage. And then the last of my cards, I ran for 1 of actions. I ran 1 Reprocess. This is a huge mistake to run. There was just never a point where I wanted to grab it, or there was just points where I grabbed it and I just never needed it. And because it heals 2 damage, it kind of it's a step backwards of what this deck kind of wants to do, where it's constantly providing pressure on your opponent with like direct damage from Horri-Bull and all the other like orange-black action cards. This would have been much better as a disassemble, and even then I think a disassemble would have been better in the sideboard, and this just in the sideboard completely. This was sided out every single game, I can tell you that much. What was not sided out every game was this bad boy, Counterespionage. It's an orange-green, so it works with Horri-Bull. Shocker. And here you can name an action, and then it searches your opponent's secret actions and their hand, and it gets rid of every action that has that same name. So this way I was able to take care of like opposing hold the lines that were like gonna block like a head attack. I have used this in the tournament to like dodge Piece of Tyranny, which was super nice that one time. Overall, you're gonna see a lot of this card being played. It's really, really good. I honestly would have rather ran 2 of these main board than the Reprocess. And then 1 Belligerence. I'm an orange-black deck, so I didn't really need to use the Belligerence per se. But I definitely wanted like a nice silver bullet card against blue decks that, even though like I am focused on guaranteed damage, I can still slap down like a fight for position and a grenade launcher and just try to go for raw orange attack value and just have you not defend for anything. This card was really good, obviously. I think Belligerence is definitely going to be sticking around the game for a while. I don't think it's as powerful as people really are concerned that it is, because it's either like really good in one matchup or just completely dead in another matchup. So it's something that I definitely didn't want to run 3 of, but one I was comfortable with running. Alright, and then I can flash my side deck now here. I don't have any proxies printed for it, and honestly my side deck was trash. I didn't use like any of it except for, I believe I had an extra Counterespionage and Belligerence in there. I sided those in every now and then, but otherwise there was nothing in my sideboard that I was super happy with playing. You can pretty much just ignore the sideboard that I chose and just say, oh, that's trash. It just wasn't good. But anyway, that was my deck profile on like this Horri-Bull, Fangry, Chromedome, orange-black deck. It was kind of a weird mixed match deck. It did end up doing really well for me. I ended up playing first round against a Springer Crankcase Fire Drive deck. That deck was really cool to see. It was mainly blue though, so it was able to. It just suffered a lot from having to constantly take pierce damage and having all the extra damage from Horri-Bull gets thrown into him. And then round 2 was my only loss in Swiss, which was against a General Prime, Fangry, and Impactor list. This is one of those lists I was talking about where he just out-aggroed me. He just swung way harder for me than I could swing back at him. Round 3, I played against a Blaster list. It was a really interesting Blaster list that had Fangry and Frenzy instead of the Fire Drive and Ramhorn. Yeah, Ramhorn, I believe. That match was really interesting. Again, Horri-Bull and all the other just direct damage cards just whittled away at a smaller health character so quickly. And because I'm technically a wider team, like Blaster, especially that version of Blaster, was 5 wide because of the Fangry and head. But I still had an extra character because I was technically 6 wide, being able to play 3 body characters and then 3 heads at the same time. Let's see if I can put these back together because that's always fun. There we go. Yeah, so I was technically wider because of that. And then round 4, I ended up playing against Kent Sumer, playing a Perceptor, Pounce, and Night Racer deck. Now that was a super difficult matchup. That was down to the wire, and it came down to game 3. I was just able to push just slight bit more damage with my Horri-Bull and orange-black Fangry swings than he was able to deal with. It was crazy games. It was super, super fun, though. Super cool deck to watch play. And then my last round of Swiss, I played against a Sky Shadow Windsweeper deck, and I was just able to constantly, in both games, KO a piece out of combat, and then kill the Sky Shadow after he combined on my turn. And then again, like I said, I lost in top 8 to a Shockwave deck. So anyway, that was the deck profile. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions about my list, please just drop a question in the comment section. I'm hoping I can spend a lot more time making more videos, especially with everything that's going on. I've been a lot more active with tournaments. I'm currently in the Vector Sigma Alpha Trion tournament, so check that out as well. I was able to make it the top 4, so come cheer me on, because I could probably use it right now. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day. See ya.